Journalism is under attack like never before.
No, husband's being tear gas fired.
You have to have the facts.
Beautiful but tragic.
Because people are doubting everything.
You're the only way of telling their story.
How would you describe this outbreak?
Something like an apocalypse.
You're going to be really tired. You're going to be really scared.
It's too dangerous to go. Anyone who says they're not scared is lying. Anything can happen.
Did you get hit? I sometimes wonder, how have we managed to get out of this?
People being killed.
We do genuinely believe in what we do.
He's clearly marked as press.
To show the truth. Wow, this is absolutely unbelievable.
To uncover an injustice.
This is the result of ethnic cleansing.
I don't think any journalist wants anything more than that. I'm Alex Crawford.
I'm Stuart Ramsay.
And this is Hotspots.
Coming up on Hotspots.
They don't know that there's a world outside. They don't know that there's possibilities.
My team's in Guatemala, where the climate crisis is costing lives.
I actually found it very shocking to look at that small child and see how gaunt he was.
And we're the first journalists to enter the town ransacked by Islamic extremists in Mozambique.
That was probably the most harrowing part of the trip.
It was very eerie.
We knew that there were communities that were struggling to eat.
There's poverty, there's hunger, and malnutrition.
So the 2.5-year-old will suffer as a direct result of having a system. They have to make this terrible choice.
One of the volcanoes here in Guatemala is going a bit mad today.
Going from farming to volcanoes is a whole different ballgame.
I'm right next to the volcano. Steam spewing out. I'm pretty terrified, actually. It's that one big volcano.
Well, Central Americans have been heading towards the United States border for decades, trying to get into the country. But in recent years and under recent American administrations, the migrant crisis has become hugely politicized. The migrants themselves have been characterized as rapists and criminals just trying to get into the United States to cause trouble. However, there's been indicators to all of us for a long time that that probably isn't as simple as that, and it's perhaps just not even the case. And that made us think we have to perhaps go back to the root causes of part of these migrant caravans.
Stuart and I have been covering the migrant crisis in Central America for, well, since I've started working with him. And he was working on the migrant crisis long before then. But at that time, we were in Mexico and near the border with, in Tijuana, near the border with the US, and we documented the movement of migrant caravans.
We'll just say we're going to try to jump the fence into the United States. It was clear that many of these people were escaping terrible violence at home, gang violence, police corruption, government corruption, and in many cases were economic migrants. A significant number were also people who were literally forced out of their homes, not by anyone, but by one thing, and that was climate change. And so, in a way, they were a new form of migrant. They were actually climate migrants. Guatemala is one of the countries where this has become a real problem.
So when we started looking into Guatemala, the first thing that struck us were the hurricanes that had happened in 2020. But then the more we started to research the topic and talk to people and experts in country, the more we started to realize that actually the hurricanes were sort of a freak weather event that was part of a much, much bigger problem. And the problem was mainly drought.
Sometimes it's meant to be raining and it's baking hot. Sometimes it's meant to be baking hot and it's raining. And then you have a huge number of hurricanes that have hit the region with a greater frequency than anyone has ever seen before.
We knew before we set off for Guatemala that there were communities, small communities who lived in quite remote mountainous areas that were struggling to eat. It was as simple as that. We knew that the country has got one of the highest rates of child malnutrition in the world. That was becoming worse and worse because of climate change.
Chiquibula is the town that's at the center of massive irrigation and market farming, etc., for Guatemala. It's surrounded by very high hills, and that's where the poorer members of society do their farming.
So it was myself and Stuart and Dan all working together as a team. We've done a lot of stories together in Central America. It's very familiar territory for our team.
We've got a lot of equipment with us, but that's because we are having to carry all sorts of protective equipment. And on top of that, we're carrying an awful lot of milk for the children in these villages that we're about to visit, where they're all suffering from malnutrition. So, and of course, there's Stuart's cowboy boots, a lot of them.
Today we're going up into the really poor regions, the mountain area, and we're seeing farmers who really struggle to live. Apparently a lot of the men are no longer there because they've had to leave to find work elsewhere, and there's a lot of malnutrition.
We would be doing a lot of driving on this trip, and not only would we be doing a lot of driving, but we would need really good 4x4 vehicles because we'd be driving a lot in quite challenging conditions.
And at certain times, you actually have to just walk up. You walk between the villages. There are no roads linking the various houses. It's just pathways, and that is where the people who really do suffer the most are to be found.
Well, they have pretty meagre crop yields here as a rule, even in the best of times. But now a combination of no rain, intense heat, and a hurricane means that 100% of the local crop has been destroyed. It's all gone.
Eduardo is extremely desperate. He's one of the few farmers that's tried to stay. He's effectively the head of the farmers' union in the area. But I mean, there isn't really any farmers' union. There's him.
Cuando llueve demasiado, se pierden los cultivos. Cuando no llueve, igual, porque no produce por la sequía. Entonces, ahorita aquí está un poco inestable lo que es el invierno.
It's become so unpredictable that they can't. It's difficult to plan. It's difficult to have any expectation. And then, of course, you reach a point of, is there any point in planting?
We knew that in a lot of these villages and communities, there were actually a lot of women and children and not many men because all the men had left. So we wanted to speak to these women. And part of us being able to do that is an amazing woman named Sophia.
Sophia is basically the founder of Antigua al Rescate. They were set up initially because of the volcanic eruptions that took place in Antigua.
And then once the threat of that particular volcano had passed, they started to look into the need within their own country a bit more, and malnutrition and child hunger became something that Sophia identified early on.
This is the area in which most of the crops do not grow all year round. There's poverty, there's hunger, and malnutrition.
She is an absolute lifeline for the women of these communities, and it takes a long time for her to get to know them. She said that when she first arrived, they didn't like any outsiders being there.
They don't know that there's a world outside. They don't know that there's different kinds of living. They don't know that there's possibilities.
The first home that Sophia took us to in this community, she had explained that there was a woman, she was heavily pregnant. The last time Sophia had seen her, she was 8 months pregnant.
She lives in this little house. They lost all the corn.
Yeah.
And now they live all together. All the women that have been left behind and abandoned, they live in the same house.
Right.
While some of the women take care of the kids, some can go out and work a little, get some food. They're just creating this small community of women who are supporting each other.
And this is just really like an act of survival.
Yes, it's an act of survival, yeah. It's a very complicated system.
So climbed over a fence and walked through crops, and I say crops, but they were dead crops, walked through them and walked this little trail to her home.
And we walked in and she was saying hello, 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 and we couldn't hear anything. It was pitch black. We realized actually there was somebody there, and it was this lady who just had her baby a few hours before. The mum was more than happy to see Sophia, and more than happy for her to take the baby away and to check her and to weigh her and see that she was okay. But this was a classic case of the lady already had another child that will have to be fed.
They live with about 20 Q worth of corn. That's about $3.50 worth of corn per week for a family of 6. And you need to add the fact that if she has a daughter that's 2.5 years old, and when there's no food, she breastfeeds the 2.5-year-old. So right now, this 2.5-year-old girl she will not have mom's milk.
Right.
So basically, we're expecting her to go down in weight.
So the 2.5-year-old will suffer as a direct result of having a sister?
Yes, and it's not just an emotional thing about their bond being broken. It's about her not getting breast milk from mom.
They have to make this terrible choice, and it's happening everywhere.
Newborn babies seem vulnerable when you first see them. It doesn't matter whether you see them in a fancy hospital in a first world country or in the conditions where we met this baby. But you can't help but have a little bit hope, maybe, that things will be different for this child. I just thought, here's a small life born into essentially a climate emergency. And this little girl and little ones like her are actually what it's all about. It's what our climate fight now is about. The next family we met in the community was Isabel Perez and her children. It wasn't very easy to get to them. They lived very high up on one of the mountain tops, and we had to park near the bottom and do a little bit of a trek up to see her.
¿Cómo está? ¿Eres un amigo?
Gracias.
It was the middle of the day and it was pitch dark inside. And lying on the bed fast asleep were 2 little boys.
He's 2.5. He had just been in a recovery center because he's too little and too light for his age. And he's 2 months old.
Wow.
I just couldn't get over how small they were. And then look closer at the 2-month-old baby who only weighed 5.5 pounds. He was just a little bit bigger than the newborn that we just met, and he was 2 months old. I actually found it very shocking to look at that small child and see how gaunt he was. And I think for me, it brought home the story. It was the picture of the story. It was that direct connection that we were looking for.
He was taken to a recovery center, but because here they don't wear diapers, in the recovery center they put him with diapers, so he got a horrible diaper rash.
Right.
Last week that we came, I gave him this ointment that I'm always carrying around. So it's like almost gone.
Yeah, it's worth a treat.
Oh, yeah.
And even that sort of a simple rash like that could actually prove very, very dangerous indeed, right?
Yes.
Because they're so weak.
Yes.
I think without Sophia and her leadership with her NGO, a significant proportion of the children being born in that environment now would die. The weather systems have now become so unreliable, there is no way they can plan to say, we'll get through this year, we'll be all right next. What they're probably saying is, we'll get through this year, will we get through the next, and will we get through the one after that?
Is the tummy definitely extended because of malnutrition? Not malnutrition, no?
Well, the thing is, malnutrition and parasites.
Right.
That's the combination, and that's why people see their chubby faces, and people believe, oh, they're fat because their face is chubby, but they're just retaining water.
Yeah. So he's got a belly, but there's nothing in it.
There's nothing in it, no.
We were finishing up filming with the community, and Dan had the drone up and we're getting some sweeping shots of the valleys and that kind of thing. And various social media started peaking on the story of the volcanoes in Antigua, Guatemala. So it's just quite active, really.
Yes. You can't see the volcano.
Which one is it? It's the same one from 2018?
Yeah,
yes.
The same. He's an angry one.
Yeah.
He's feisty.
Always.
He's a feisty volcano. Yeah.
Dominique was having to speak to London and just say, listen, just keep an eye on this.
So I'm calling to let you know that one of the volcanoes here in Guatemala is going a bit mad today.
Because, going from one story like that, which is one about farming, to volcanoes is a whole different ballgame. And that was, to sort of plan and work out how do you go, how do you cover a volcanic eruption safely? It's one that you do actually have to think about.
But we might find ourselves starting here doing one story and ending this trip on an entirely different story. The conclusion we came to was that we had enough on the story we were doing to actually go to Antigua, Guatemala and find out what was happening with the volcanoes. In 2018, one of the volcanoes, Volcán de Fuego, which is the volcano of fire, erupted and spewed billions of tons of rock and ash, and the lava flowed about 8 kilometers down into communities around, and it was a completely tragic event. It completely engulfed the communities that live on the basin around the volcano. There was a lot of anxiety that what happened in 2018 would happen again and that there could be a big eruption.
We're going to meet some of the people who live around the volcano and see if they're going to prepare to leave or not, because definitely the activity is worse than it's been for a long while. The thing with volcanoes, they go bad, they go very bad very quickly, I think. So, there's only so many precautions you can take. Short of not going, I suppose, but we're going to look.
It was making a lot of rumbles. It was making all the indicators of a big explosion that had happened actually only a few years before and killed huge numbers of people in that vicinity. And we were quite surprised. So many of these communities are still there and still populated.
Point is, these communities, and there's lots of them around here, or actually on the volcano, are incredibly vulnerable to the lava. It's flowed through here before, and obviously from the gases that can come off a major explosion. Over 180,000 people live in these communities on the volcano.
And the real crucial point, and which is the point that they made to us, is yes, they know it's dangerous. They're used to making noises. That's part of life.
Truena, probablemente en este día está tronando mucho. Truena así pura bomba. ¡Pum! A veces las puertas, las ventanas truenan al oír el ruido que hace el volcán. Ajá.
And you wouldn't think of leaving?
Y aunque nos vayamos, no tenemos dónde. Quiere dinero para modo de comprar un terreno. Ajá.
And perhaps this is the key. They can't afford to leave.
It was particularly difficult filming volcanoes because it seemed like they were intentionally hiding from us.
It's fair to say it was driving Dan absolutely crazy, to the point that we gave up on Fuego after trying forever. We could hear it, but we couldn't see it, and we were right underneath it. But it was just covered in its own ash and smoke, but also just in very, very low cloud.
So we decided that what we would do is to climb up the other volcano that was also erupting, and that's Pacaya.
We had to get permission from police and the park authorities, but we did it by just driving up and chatting.
Sky News. Sky News.
Well, I've said we can go up, and they're going to take us up, and they say we'll see it.
And so we began everyone piling into four-wheel drives to begin this drive further and further up the side of the volcano, in which I was getting more and more scared, because on a number of occasions, one, we've got a volcano erupting. Two, we don't know if it's going to get worse. Three, we're driving up the side of a mountain in this tiny road.
It's pretty rock and roll.
It's been a bumpy trip.
And four, there's a precipitous drop on the right-hand side, going down thousands of feet.
What's
something?
The diff. Or the clutch.
Tell me to stop, Dan.
Just simply couldn't get any further up. Sort of felt slightly better being on foot as well, rather than being in the car. I don't know why, but it just felt like that.
The higher up we were getting, the more antsy Stuart was getting. Now, I know Stuart's afraid of heights, and, we were quite high.
That's it. Is it exploding? Yeah. We're right next to the volcano. You can hear it, steam and spewing out. I'm pretty terrified, actually. I don't want big volcano.
I was really scared. It was rumbling, and you know, sometimes a camera can't quite get across what it feels like when you're quite near to something.
You're concerned still.
I'm concerned. And I can see steam coming out of all sorts of holes. Yeah.
When Stuart is quiet, it means Stuart is nervous. And there was a lot of quiet.
Heights and loud noises. I'm really high up, and there's really loud noises coming from the volcano.
But then I think got to a point, Stuart was like, right, we're getting off this mountain now. And so we did.
Dan was unhappy because the sun was in the wrong place.
No, silly sun. Volcano.
There was a white cloud with a bright light behind a black object in the middle of the day at noon. I mean, come on.
Well, you couldn't actually film the volcano.
Pretty much, no.
We'll come back tonight, don't worry.
By the end of the day, usually around 5 or 6, the clouds actually drop and the volcano exposes itself. We sat in a field that we were given special permission to be in by the owner, which had a very good, what he said is a good shot of the lava flow.
It's extremely dark. And we're in a cloud. And there's apparently a huge volcano just there. You just can't see.
I think we got there at about 4 in the afternoon, and I think we left at about 3 in the morning. And I was absolutely frozen. And finally, with about, I think I'd fallen asleep in the car, and then I trudged over, and Dan was packing up his kit. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I got it.
It was one hell of a fireworks show at the end. It was really good. Quite special.
And he said, like, for a few minutes, it opened up, and he could see the mountain, and he got the shots that he wanted.
When the volcano was erupting, you could feel that under your feet. And that makes you feel really, really small as a human being. But I would say today, probably this erupting volcano was one of the most impressive natural spectacles I've ever seen.
Awesome, I think, would be the word that you would describe. Awesome power and energy at the same time.
The next day, we woke up and it was the most clear day. The sun was shining and you could see Fuego in all its glory from our hotel kilometers away. How is it possible that on the day we're leaving, this is the day where you have the clearest view of the volcano? And Dan was so frustrated.
The volcano that decided to hide itself from us when we were on it is now fully available for everyone to see, and incredibly, you watch it from the air. It's a bit like judging hurricanes. You can't plan those. You can't plan eruptions or earthquakes. It's just you've got to sort of go with no hint of irony. You've got to go with the flow.
When we go and do these stories and tell people stories, in this case, the climate change and the dry corridor and child malnutrition, and then, you know, the volcanoes and their impact on the communities around them, we come and we go. You leave there and people leave impressions on you. And Sophia was someone who left a real impression on me. And, you know, her and her NGO are kind of self-appointed guardians. They're sort of self-appointed angels.
They traveled all the way just to see you.
She is a remarkable woman, and she is a link, interestingly, between the uncertainty of volcanic eruptions and the uncertainty of the weather conditions and the effect it's had on people. And some of it can actually be attributed to man-made problems, and then perhaps you can't stop volcanic eruptions, but you probably can stop climate change.
Up next.
We're in Palma, and this is now a militarised area.
The governor starts striding off down that high street. We're suddenly thinking, oh, wow, well, actually, we're going into the heart of where we want to go.
There were many displaced people who'd fled the fighting.
They're all saying how hungry they are.
And you could feel the exasperation all sort of boiled up.
We're in Palma, and this is now a militarised area.
It was very eerie. They were tied with their hands behind their back and their heads were cut off. Come on. Okay. I think Mozambique is the Islamic State insurgency that most of the world just hadn't heard about. Mozambique is a country which most people probably only associate with sun-drenched beaches, and yet in the underbelly there's this growing insurgency.
The insurgency started officially in 2017. It's branded itself with the flag of ISIS. There's estimations that, close to 700,000 people have been displaced. Up to, 3,000 people have died. The truth is nobody knows.
What's interesting is that at roughly the same time that they discovered this giant oil gas field, you suddenly had the makings of this insurgency. It was very violent, horrific attacks, but they were very much on a small scale. And then 4 years later, just as the oil and gas exploration was really taking off, there was the most audacious extremist attack, which sent tens of thousands of people fleeing in terror.
We're just getting some breaking news out of Maputo, the capital of Mozambique, and that is dozens of people were killed in an attack in the northern town of Palma.
There was a real shortage of pictures, so it was hard to know exactly what was going on, but what was clear was that there was a terrorist incident occurring.
I've worked in Africa for a long time, so I developed some very strong contacts within the Mozambique government. So we had been given this extremely rare access and invitation to come and see what was going on.
So we're waiting to be taken up north, and Alex is communicating with the president.
I'm desperately trying to persuade them to give us an interview and sending various topics that we might want to cover, which is how they can convince people that it's secure, and we're going to find out ourselves, probably in the next hour or so, just how secure it is. But it's vitally important for Mozambique, the whole region, the whole of Africa, that they get this terror threat under control, because it's spreading.
There was a hell of a lot of unknown about the trip. We didn't know entirely what we were going to be shown, so it was just to get there and establish some facts and see for ourselves what had occurred.
Thank you.
As soon as we land in Afungi, we walk into the little airport, and there's a whole load of people. Immediately, we assumed that they must be some of the people who'd fled, and we just started talking to them straight away. What were they doing?
They're killing people.
How?
They shoot people, even they're following us, shooting us. Then we run away.
They were describing really chilling, graphic, violent scenes.
When we jumped one river, we found the people with the gun. They were shooting one people to another, and just another people also just chopping at the people. So we tried to run away.
I can't imagine how terrifying that must have been. I'm thinking maybe this is all the fleeing civilians that we're going to see. So we talk to as many as we possibly can, try and get as many sort of first-hand eyewitness accounts from them. How have you managed to eat and drink? How have you managed to survive?
It's not easy. It's not easy.
Okay.
The only way you were going to get into Palma was with the military.
So the first place we go to is the police camp, which is outside Palma, and from where they tried to beat back the militants.
Moral. Como vai o nosso moral?
We met up with the governor. He introduced himself and said, I'm going to take you to a whole new housing area. We'd been told that there were many displaced people who'd fled the fighting in Palma, but no one had very accurate ideas of exactly how many people there were there. And as we got closer and closer, the crowd got bigger and bigger and bigger. Awful lot of people here, and a lot of them just seem to be living rough. Difficult to tell numbers straight away, but thousands, I'd say. Definitely thousands. The aid agencies estimated over 20,000 people. I think, like us, the governor was absolutely gobsmacked by how many people there were.
For me, that was probably the most harrowing part of the trip.
They're all saying how hungry they are and begging us for food and for the authorities to stop this conflict. Look at them, they're all calling, they're all saying, food, we want
You could
food.
feel the exasperation and the fatigue and the hunger, and it all sort of boiled up.
Food, we need food, we need food, we need food, food.
They'd been there for 2 weeks and nothing had been done for them.
I think the Mozambique government, they appeared to not realise how strong the feeling of discontent was in that area. Ooh, a bit bumpy, but wow, I wasn't expecting to see so many people. There's a lot of people there.
The obvious aim of it all and the reason why we were there was to get into Palma, to be able to see where the attack happened.
If there's any chance we can land just to see what the terrorists have done, the vandalism and the ransacking.
No, this is what was planned to be done. But the security, they are not yet because they are still working there.
Finally got into the helicopter and we'd been told that this was just going to be a flyover. So we probably weren't going to land. And suddenly the helicopter starts getting closer and closer to the ground. We landed in the middle of a football field. We got out, we didn't know what to expect.
Okay, we're in Palma, and this is now a militarized area. Lots of soldiers. They very much want to show us that they're in control. It's taking off.
We have a quick chat with the soldiers there, without our minder and our chaperone. How far are the terrorists from here?
From here.
Are they still in the town?
Yes.
They're still in the town. How many?
Yes.
Well, I'm thinking, pretty sure this isn't the message that the government is trying to put out. I don't think it was very long after we got dropped into the perimeter of Palma that these people started coming out of the bush. Families holding children and babies and talking about hiding out there for nearly 2 weeks. And they were hungry, so they were immediately given food and something to drink.
The governor starts striding off down that high street. We're suddenly thinking, oh, wow, well, actually, we're going into the heart of where we want to go.
It was very eerie. This was obviously so recent.
There are signs of destruction everywhere. Dead animals, we've seen dead bodies in hallways. Almost every one of these buildings has been trashed, and this one appears to have been set on fire.
This was Nearly 2 weeks after the attack, no one had felt secure enough to go in and do any of the clearing up at this stage.
The damage and destruction is extensive. Come along in here. Roof down, building set alight. These are administrative offices, and every house that you can see through there has been set alight. Well, this is classic Islamic extremist tactics favoured by ISIS. Burn key infrastructure like hospitals, schools, banks, post office, homes, just to terrorise the people and make them leave.
This governor was just striding ahead, setting the pace.
They didn't want to really just stop for any length of time in any one place, so there was a feeling that they weren't 100% sure that the place was safe.
I mean, he was a former tennis champion, apparently, and an extremely likeable character, very charismatic character, but there was no waiting around for anybody.
This guy was literally just running. Hey, look over there. Hey, how you doing? Come look, have a look at this. He just didn't stop. He had hands in his pants. I was exhausted. You're there filming everything that moves, just trying to gather everything because you just don't know what you're going to get next.
We had no idea how long we were going to be there for. You're burning nervous energy as well.
I thought he was quite frank for a politician.
How can you guarantee it won't happen again?
This I can't say. This I can't say.
I would put money on most politicians around the world saying, well, yeah, we're going to do our best. Or and he just said straight away, well, no, I can't guarantee that. There was a great deal of suspicion at that time. Even on the way out, they've arrested 3 young men. The soldiers were clearly a bit edgy about why these 3 young men of fighting age were just knocking around the area. There was a lot of concern that because they'd been caught so off guard the first time, that it could happen again.
Let's go, please.
It's for soldiers, not for you. Journalists, let's go.
I wasn't immediately aware of how important that was, or the exclusivity of it at the time. Certainly when we got the pictures back, you realise actually, yeah, we are the first international observers there on the ground.
Alex joins me now live from the town of Pemba in Mozambique. Alex, you've been in Palma. Do we know where those jihadists are who attacked Palma on March the 24th?
I mean, that is a fantastically difficult question, and one that the Mozambique military desperately wants to have answered.
You realise then that actually that was very difficult and exclusive opportunity to get on the ground and get pictures and for the world to see what's happened in the aftermath.
What the Mozambique authorities want to find out, what the Mozambique military wants to hammer down, is how did they manage to do this and where have they gone?
We wanted to go and see the Amarula Lodge, which a lot of people had taken refuge in, including a lot of expats. So a few days later, we got, again, another early call. We're going to go back.
We're at Afungi Airport. This area appears to be very secure. They've given us armed guards, opening up the roads, which they say are now secure, and they want to take us to the Amarula Lodge, where so many people were held under siege by the militants.
The military were taking a small group of selected journalists.
A lot more soldiers in Palma, an awful lot more people as they're trying to encourage them to come back and try to reassure them that they are safe again.
And then we turn up at the Amarula Lodge.
Sorry, can I just give you that? No. Thank you.
There'd been nearly 200 people trapped there, amongst them some of the expat workers and the foreign workers, and they'd been under siege at this lodge. signs of destruction all around. Rooms have been ransacked, office equipment has been thrown everywhere. The soldiers are now set up camp in the middle of the town and outside here at the Amarula Lodge.
When we got into the lodge, obviously, it was empty. There was a terrible, terrible smell, like bodies, but it wasn't. It was rotting meat. So all the food stores full of fish, full of meat, were rotting away in the blazing sun. And then just walking around all these individual lodges, individual rooms with stuff scattered on the floor, the mattresses gone, had been taken away.
Broken glass, people's clothes still all over the place.
You just try and picture what it was like for the people who were holed up in there for days on end with, you know, enemies at the gate, if you want.
One of our guys got a phone call from somebody that said that they were attacking Palma.
We got access to some of the survivors who'd not only managed to survive the attack, but had also filmed quite a lot of it on their mobile phones. There was this South African family, 2 brothers and a father. All 3 of them had got caught up in this siege at the Amarula Lodge. What happened inside that lodge was quite extraordinary.
The gunfire just didn't stop. The mortars. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of mortars.
It was an incredible tale of fortitude with quite tragic consequences.
Love you, bro.
Love you, my man.
You're all right.
They honestly believed they were going to be saved. And you see their despair and their frustration growing through these mobile phone clips over the number of days.
We need confirmation ASAP.
When they realise that no one's coming back to save them, they come up with this desperate plan to mount their own convoy.
It's going to be the drive of your life, bro.
To bust out of it themselves. Almost as soon as they break out, they're ambushed with shooting from the extremists who lined up on the side of the road where they knew the drivers would be. Adrian gets shot twice.
I was holding his shoulder over the bullet wound, trying to stop the blood, and I was just pumping out.
Wes gives this heartbreaking description, which is obviously very, very vivid in his mind.
And I was just shouting that I love him and that I look after his family and that I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that this has happened to him.
It was very, very sad, very sad. And I thought he did an incredible job bringing home to everybody just how terrifying that must have been.
I guess it's human nature not to just accept potential death. They just felt they had to do something, and you can't blame them, really.
They had to take measures into their own hands because nobody was coming to save them. Decisions could have been taken somewhere to help them, to save them, and it didn't happen.
We were filming in the hotel grounds, but then just outside, we were told by a local chap that, yeah, he'd helped bury multiple bodies here.
What happened here, Nula?
They were all beheaded. It was a horrific scene, apparently.
Buried?
They were rotting corpses, so they dug a large hole and buried the bodies in there.
Have they taken them out yet?
No, they healed. You see that? It's blood.
We just wanted to film some of it. It's a huge part of the story. We needed to document that, but as soon as we turned up, the military were straight away whisking us away.
Okay, apparently these black dark parts are blood.
We're going.
No, we need to know what's going on. No, they're not moving. Right, come on.
Let's go, it's time. Time is over.
Let's
go.
And we managed to get a few words with him as we were walking back.
The white people.
White people, they're burying him there. But no sabe de quê?
It was just really chaotic.
White people, expatriates living in Amarula, with once buried.
How many were there?
12.
Around 12.
Around 12?
You know, this is a massive element of the story and the military were just trying to drag us out of there as quickly as they could.
They say all of them was tied with the end of the back. And
Sorry, say again, tell me.
All the bodies that they find, they was tied with the
They were
hands
tied
of
with
the
their
back,
hands behind their back? And their heads were cut off?
Yes.
Thank you.
We tried very hard to stand up the reports of beheadings at the Amarula, but we weren't able to confirm the details.
The truth is, nobody knows how many people were killed in the Palma attack. And that's why, you know, just being able to go there, even for a short time, to be able to film, even if it is just a glimpse, is so important. Because there is not, and they probably will not be, a thorough accounting.
I don't think anyone came out of this very well. The Mozambique politicians clearly didn't do enough to prevent this happening. There was a lack of intelligence on the ground in the build-up to this. Then, when it did break out, there wasn't a good, robust, coordinated response to it, and then they didn't do enough to rescue or help people. You can't actually kill an idea. And ISIS is using Africa to build its next base. And I think the international community is going to be caught short again, just like they were in Iraq and Syria, if they don't step up and start recognizing that the spread of extremism in Africa is very definitely not going away.
Next time on Hotspots, my team and I are in India as the country nears collapse under the weight of the COVID crisis.
They were screaming out for oxygen.
The definition of a hospital struggling to cope.
People started to die in front of us.
And we're back in Brazil, where the pandemic is claiming a new type of victim.
More pregnant women were dying than anywhere else on the planet.
I was not prepared for that.
If you've got 500,000 plus dead, these figures are absolutely horrendous.
Until then, you can find us on Twitter at Alex Crawford Sky and at Ramsay Sky. See you next time.
You're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my